Hi, it's Cameron. Thanks for joining me again on My Child Astrology. Today we're going to talk about kids born with Aquarius moon. This is perhaps the most inscrutable moon sign, so I'm excited to discuss it with you. As always, please subscribe to my channel and share it with any parents you know who may be interested in learning how astrology can help them better understand their children and help them solve the common parenting dilemmas we all face. If you haven't had a chance to listen to my video about nurturing your child's moon, I will link it below. It explains the significance of the moon and why it is particularly important for child development. In fact, if there was only one luminary we could study to understand our child better, it would be their moon sign, aspects, and house position. In this series, we are focusing on each individual moon sign, so it is a general description of your child's emotional responses to life. If the sun is our ego, the moon is our id, an instinctual part of our psyche that responds to our basic needs and urges. Because of its primal nature, it can operate unconsciously, so it is a huge driver of behavior. Learning about your child's moon will help you to understand what motivates certain behaviors and how to solve behavior problems by meeting their primary emotional needs. So the moon shows your child's emotional subjective responses to things. It is not meant to be rational or objective, it just feels the way it feels. This is why the moon in Aquarius is so interesting. Remember that Aquarius is an air sign, so it is rational, logical, and detached. Anyone with the moon in an air sign will try to think through their feelings and find a reason for them. There's an intellectual response to emotions that is uncomfortable with going too deep. Aquarius, in particular, doesn't usually like to get too heavy. They equate strong emotions with drama. You can truly say that these kids are more comfortable in the head than in the heart. If you had a chance to listen to my Air Sun Kids episode, you may remember that Aquarius often has many acquaintances but few intimate friendships. They are more comfortable when given space and allowed to detach. But the moon is our attachment style and our security needs. An infant's survival depends on being attached to mom, who feeds him and attends to all of his basic needs. Very young Aquarius moon children will, of course, have these basic needs, but they will become more comfortable as they are able to become more independent. For that reason, this child may not want to sit in your lap and cuddle. She may seem to reject hugs and kisses and generally not want as much physical contact. One of the funniest stories I've ever heard was about a family member of mine who has Aquarius moon. When she was just beginning to talk but young enough to still be nursing, her mother was feeding her. She abruptly stopped eating, looked up at her mom, and said, "Don't breathe on me." I love this story because I think it sums up these kids so well. They need to feel like they have space to breathe. This can be a little disappointing for parents who like a lot of demonstrative affection. You may feel like it's harder to bond with your Aquarius moon. But bonding with them happens more on the mental level, so it will become easier as they become conversational and as they mature. If the baby toddler snuggles aren't quite enough for you, just know that there's nothing wrong per se. You just have a kid who's very much an individual and needs more autonomy. They usually don't want to merge with their parents as much as other kids do. Emotionally, they are more comfortable staying detached. So if you're aware of this, it will hopefully help you to not take it too personally. And herein lies the key to meeting your Aquarius moon child's emotional needs. Give them space to be who they are. We're in a challenging position as parents because we have the important job of teaching our children kindness and decency and guiding their behavior towards the values that are important to us. But sometimes our guidance can cross over into trying to manipulate them into being who we want them to be, rather than trying to elicit the highest expression of who they actually are. We may feel like they owe us certain responses, and understandably so because we do everything for them. But we can save ourselves and our kids a lot of frustration by guiding them to the healthiest expression of their unique selves. You wouldn't plant a carrot seed and expect a tomato plant to grow. Aquarius moon needs room to just be who they are. This is why I love astrology so much. It can tell us a lot about what we can reasonably expect from our child. They are who they are, and there's no better example of this than your Aquarius moon kid. So keep an open mind, mom and dad. You may find that your child is more eccentric than most, a real character, as some would say. They march to their own beat, and this sometimes means falling out of step with everyone else. If the moon shows our basic urges, remember that one of Aquarius's most basic urges is to innovate. They are wired to think outside the box and figure out their own way of doing things. They may need to replace your old idea with their new one. Depending on your particular value system, this may come across as rebellion or defiance. If you are very traditional and excited to pass along cherished family traditions to your child, your Aquarius moon may shock you by picking up their own torch to carry into the future. To the extent that you can let her truly be herself, your Aquarius moon child will feel nurtured and secure. This can be a surprisingly stubborn placement, especially if you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. So keep an open mind and allow this kid space to be a unique, kind of different individual. Moon in Airy Aquarius is rational, cerebral, mental, and these qualities are uncomfortable with heavy emotion. These kids will tend to detach from their feelings and try to find the reason for why they feel the way they do. This is an awkward dance that can create a spasmodic reactivity as the emotional and mental energies compete for attention. Aquarius moons in particular can snap from one mood to the next, and this can be disconcerting and even shocking for parents. Let's break down why this happens. Number one, a feeling arises, and as we know, it's the moon's instinct to respond emotionally to stimuli, so feelings come spontaneously. Number two, the Aquarius moon feels uncomfortable, so they detach to try to mentally respond to the emotion. Number three, the detachment makes the emotion come in louder in an attempt to be acknowledged or resolved. And now a tug of war is happening between the head and the heart. This is why I described Aquarius moon as being inscrutable, because it's often hard for others to understand why this cool, rational sign can be so reactive. Remember that each zodiac sign has a ruling planet, and Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, the planet of electricity, earthquakes, and lightning. So there's a lot of emotional volatility here. Because Aquarius is wired to change the status quo, they can be emotionally disruptive just for the sake of it. This can make them incredibly changeable and unpredictable. Let's talk about working with your Aquarius moon child to help him integrate his rational and feeling natures. Starting with the very young kids, before they can verbally communicate, you just have to let them have their emotional earthquakes while you give them solid ground. You have to give them space to do the awkward dance and just wait for the storm to pass. As with any child with any moon position, validate the emotion they're having by naming it for them. This is especially comforting to the air sign moons of Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, who want to know what they're feeling and why. So even nonverbal Aquarius moons can be comforted with a rational explanation. It gets a bit easier with older kids who can communicate because air wants to talk about their feelings, to filter them through the intellect. They often like to verbally process feelings more than the other moon signs. So be prepared to listen and give them some objective feedback. Once they have a mental handle on why they're feeling this way, they become more comfortable with the emotion. For this reason, air sign moons often benefit from talk therapy and are able to express their feelings and work through them. Another potential benefit of Aquarius moon is the ability to shift out of old emotions that aren't serving them. Remember that Aquarius is the innovator of the zodiac, so they can draw on that energy to produce positive, radical change for themselves. They can get unstuck more easily than others. This can cause problems in relationships, though, because their shifts are often unpredictable and even radical in nature. When they are done, they are done. Earthquakes and lightning come out of nowhere and cause irrevocable change. It's the same with Aquarius moon kids, and also those with strong moon Uranus aspects. That's why getting them to talk about their feelings along the way can at least give some clues as to what may be building beneath the surface before it shifts and catches everyone off guard. In my episode about Aquarius sun children, I mentioned that Aquarius is one of the more paradoxical signs. This is because it is a fixed sign whose goal is to innovate and transform. The word fixed seems opposite to the radical change energy of Aquarius. But if you think about it, the change makers have to be resolute in their position in order to break the mold. This contributes to Aquarius being stubborn. So just remember that it has to happen in its own time. You can't force these kids to budge. Usually changes will come from out of the blue. So this kid can be full of surprises and keep you on your toes. Let's talk about another couple of words often used to describe Aquarius energy: rebellious and defiant. It makes sense that in order to innovate or invent something new, you have to go against established norms. Nothing new would ever happen. There would be no forward progress without the energies of rebellion. So let's think about how that applies to your child's emotions. Aquarius moon will often resist and defy feelings that don't fit the mental scheme they are holding. If they can't make sense of it, they will often rebel against it, even if this causes emotional pain to themselves and others. And then we're back to that tug of war I mentioned earlier. And the only way they will allow themselves to feel the incongruent emotion is to change their mind about it. This can be maddening to people who are more heart-centered. So relationships with Aquarius moon can feel erratic and unstable. This is why they need so much emotional space, and you may not be able to get very close to them. It can be hard for us parents to love our children from a detached place. But this is what parenting your Aquarius moon will ask of you. How can we be objective about someone we love so deeply? It can be challenging and even painful for more watery emotional parents. You have to meet this child on the mental plane. Let's discuss some other things that Aquarius moon needs to feel fulfilled. This is a social sign who often enjoys being part of a group. This is another paradox of Aquarius. How can such an individualistic person enjoy being one of many? Well, if you think about it, it's easier to be yourself in the crowd versus intimate one-on-one relationships. There's less pressure and emotional stakes are much lower. So Aquarius is happy to swim in the school of fish. Your Aquarius moon kid will probably ask to join some sort of club or team or several, and this should absolutely be encouraged. They often have a humanitarian streak and want to help others, so charity organizations are a great fit for them. For Aquarius moon, it's easier to care broadly for humanity than it is to deeply focus love on one person. They paint their love with a broader brush. This is why they're represented by the water bearer who shares with everybody. We mentioned earlier that Aquarius is often more comfortable having many acquaintances but few close friends. They thrive in a community where their gifts and contributions can benefit the whole. If the moon is a child's sense of security, then Aquarius moon feels most secure when they have a sense of community and belonging, especially one where they're free to be different and not stand out in the crowd. You may remember that Aquarius is the opposite of Leo. Leo is the performer who wants to be seen and in the spotlight. Aquarius prefers to go about his business with little fanfare. Another thing about Aquarius moon, he usually has friends from all walks of life. He's generally very tolerant of differences and lets people be who they are. He'll probably be friends with the misfits and the jocks and stay on the periphery of different social circles. Aquarius usually feels too stifled being part of a clique. But there's a paradox here as well. Remember that Aquarius needs to be detached, and in order to blaze his own trail, needs to remove himself from the herd. This can make them appear very aloof and even arrogant. When we separate ourselves from the pack, others may take it personally, and this can complicate friendships for your Aquarius moon. But ultimately, they need to be free to go their own way. So, you also may remember me discussing in previous episodes that the moon in your child's chart represents her perception of mom or her experience of how mom did or did not nurture her. Planetary aspects and house position give the most accurate picture, but we can learn about Aquarius moon's mom. She probably marches to her own beat somehow and may not be a traditional kind of mother. She may not do what is culturally expected of moms to do, and she may have a hard time with the inherent restrictions that motherhood places on her. She may be fiercely independent and try to foster independence in her child as well. If she's the community-minded type, she may be everyone's friend and a universal mother type. Her house may be the one in the neighborhood where everyone is welcome. She may be the cool mom who doesn't have many rules for her kids and their friends. Her child may perceive her as being cold, aloof, or detached, or more of a friend than a mom. She may seem unpredictable to her kid, expressing affection erratically and leaving them feeling like they don't know what they're going to get. Aquarius moon mom may be unique in some way. She may have unusual beliefs or an outlandish style that embarrasses her kids. She may be involved in some sort of community movement, trying to change the status quo. She may be an activist, an iconoclast, or a revolutionary. No matter what, the mother of an Aquarius moon will retain her individuality in her child's eyes. She will remain a separate individual rather than being completely swallowed up by the identity label of mother. I hope this gives you a good sense of this fascinating moon position. I will leave it here for now. Of course, there is so much more to say. Remember that you know your child best, so take what resonates with you and leave the rest. And while you're here, please like and subscribe to the channel so this helpful information can reach more parents. And if you have anything to share about how your kid expresses their Aquarius moon, leave a comment below. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you back here soon.